And over my years of starting DBCB exotics and started breeding reptiles, my budget for what I thought was an expensive reptile has gone from, you know, the $300 to $400 range to now getting into the multiple thousand range that I'm comfortable with buying. But today I wanted to take it one step further. And by that, I mean, we're gonna talk about the top 5 most expensive reptiles. Dear God, are these expensive? Let's roll the intro. And kicking off this list, we're going to be going over number 1, the lace monitor. The lace monitor has always been a dream reptile for me ever since I first got into the hobby. Those beautiful stripes down it, or even taking it one step further and getting the bells phase where you're talking about this almost like cow-like pattern. They're just simply stunning animals. But with that being said, they're not only amazingly beautiful, they're also amazingly expensive. Now, when I first started looking into lace monitors and potentially buying one, there was little to no advertisement or listings for lace monitors. Pretty much only a handful of people owned them at this point. Breeding was pretty slow. We weren't getting many available babies, available captive bred babies, and even if we were getting those babies, they were being held back. At that point in time, you were looking at a lace monitor anywhere from $15,000 to even $30,000. Of course, as the years have gone on and more breedings have taken place, when people have started getting breeding pairs, of course that market has then dropped a little bit, but still, you can find lace monitors for the cool price around $4,000, maybe $8,000, depending, of course, if it's bell phase, or just, damn squeaky chair, or whether it's a bell phase or just a normal lace. All in all, of course a stunning animal, but still, that's pretty expensive. But moving on, we're going to be talking about everyone's dream snake. Everyone absolutely wants it. It's probably one of the most favorable dream reptiles out there. Number 4, the Bollingers Python. Now, the Bollingers Python has to be the pinnacle of the reptile community. Everyone wants one. They're so beautiful. I mean, the stunning iridescence with almost this velvet-like scale pattern. It's, what even is this thing? This thing is, it's awesome, I guess. It's not the proper adjective, but it's the one I used. Now again, Bollingers Pythons are going to be one of those snakes where captive breeding is a little elusive. We're not too sure how it's working out. No one's really cracked the code into figuring out how to reliably captive produce them. There was someone in Germany, I'm going to put it right there, thanks to R&B Reptiles and their podcast, Reptiles Rocks. Great interview with a German gentleman, and he was talking a lot about Bollingers Pythons. So if that's your thing, I got it down there in the description. Now, Bollingers Pythons are going to be one of those snakes where you're really not going to find much availability. You're not going to be able to just walk on into Morph Market and all of a sudden, oh, there's the Bollingers Python, I can grab it right there. The last time I saw a Bollingers Python was actually recently, but before that, it's been years. Of course, it was Kevin McCurley over at Nerd. He had some, I believe they were around $500 to $7,500 for one Bollingers Python. It's quite the expense, especially for an investment animal that you're not sure really to how to reproduce or really get it. Unless you're really not looking to breed it and maybe you just, you know, you always wanted a Bollingers Python, you're a high-class doctor or dentist, and you're like, yes, I will spend that $7,500 for one pet snake, thank you. That's not me. I'm no doctor. But speaking of very rare reptiles that look really awesome and for a high price, that brings us to number 3, the Shingleback Skink. I mean, is it a surprise the Shingleback Skink is on the list? Of course, it's one of, again, the pinnacle of the hobbyist. Every blue-tongued skink breeder is just dying for a Shingleback Skink. I mean, check this guy out. I mean, what even is this skink? This thing is awesome. What really makes Shingleback Skink such an impressive specimen is just the fact of its scale pattern. It almost has these raised scales out, giving it, well, of course, the name Shingleback Skink. Much like pretty much all the reptiles we're going to be talking about, Shingleback Skinks are very hard to breed. It's again one of those species where I don't believe we fully cracked the code on how to breed them. Honestly, I really can't find anyone that actually owns Shingleback Skinks to talk about them with them, so really they're just that rare. Now, number 1, you're not gonna find a Shingleback Skink for sale. I mean, Jesus Christ, anyone who owns Shingleback Skinks, they're breeding them and immediately holding the babies back to breed more of them. However, if you happen to find one guy that's like, you know what, I don't want my Shingleback Skink, I'm gonna sell it, you're looking at anywhere from around $8,000 to $13,000. Oh, 5 figures for a skink that I'm just gonna continuously breed and then line breed because I want all the skinks instead of selling them? Sign me up. Yeah, sometimes I think I say clever things and sometimes that comes out of my mouth and I'm just like, nope. All right, we're heading down now. We're talking about, you know, the last 2, which is 4, which is why I put my hand out like that. So, number 4, the albino American alligator. Now, the American alligator market is really funny. It's actually a little bit more comparable to tokay geckos, where you can find a normal alligator for the price of around $300–500, really not doing much. It's much like the tokays where they're going for 30 to 60 bucks for normals. However, that immediately skyrockets up when you start talking about morphs. Of course, today we're going to be going over the albino alligator. I think it's just because, for one, alligators take a much longer period to breed. This isn't going to be like your ball python where you get to wait 2 years and you're like, boom, full return, I get eggs and sell babies. Nope, I believe alligators need to be of the maturity of... I can't remember, hang on, let me look it up, I forgot. Alright, I came back with answers. They reach sexual maturity anywhere around 6 to 10 years. Which is a pretty... Get this thing out of here. Which is a pretty long time comparatively speaking. I mean, if you're going with just a baby that was just born, you know, a couple months old, you're gonna have to wait a full decade before you even attempt breeding them. That's not to mention, of course, that breeding American alligators isn't like breeding, you know, corn snakes or ball pythons. It's a little more elaborate. With, of course, if you're talking animals with more intelligence, of course, the breeding part is going to be a little harder than... I'm not trying to say ball pythons are dumb, but they're not like American alligators. I might get shit on for the comments for that one. If you're looking for a really cool alligator that isn't just that normal green, but is this cool pink, yellowish looking thing, almost this white, you can look at spending pretty much $15,000. That is the last time I saw them. Ironically enough, I saw them on Morph Market, of all things. I was searching, I think, crocodilians. You know what, we're really, hang on, a little subplot thing, it's sidetrack. Why does Morph Market have a section for crocodilians, but it doesn't have a section for tokay geckos? Riddle me that one, Morph Market. I think that's the one and only time I've ever seen an albino American alligator for sale, you know, like public, or people are like, hey, message me about my albino alligators. It's really not an animal that I personally, for me, I wouldn't want to just throw it out there like, oh, hey, although for $15,000, you would hope, I mean, I would really hope that if you're spending $15,000 on an animal that you would at least know how to take care of it. But humanity has proved me wrong a few times. All right, here we are. The last animal on the list. Man, hope an ad doesn't pop up real quick, and I hope you guys have been enjoying the rest of the content to the point where you might want to watch the ad or just press the skip button to see the number one. Number 1. I'm sorry, I need the bills. You guys understand. We're going to number 1. Fuck, what was number 1? No, of course I come prepared for these videos and I have all the information down before I start them. What are you guys insinuating? Number 1, the Aldabra Tortoise. Of course it had to be a tortoise, right? Of course tortoises are the most expensive animal on this list. Tortoise category, or really just, you know, the hobbyist market for the reptiles in tortoises, seem to be like this really niche group. It's a little weird. Like, when you think of reptiles, most of the keepers are either gonna have lizards, geckos, or snakes. You don't really think about tortoises being reptiles. There are really many people owning tortoises, but they're cool dudes, and Aldabra tortoises take the cake. Of course, this is a dream reptile of mine. I really hope to own at least one Aldabra tortoise, probably when I get out of here and have more land. Maybe a warmer climate too, because I want to keep it outside. So it's going to be a little far on the list, but right now, you know, we're enjoying our little leopard tortoise. He's a cute little dude. Aldabra tortoises are awesome. Getting at a fairly large size, such as, well, what this picture looks like, they're pretty big boys. It's like having almost like a cow, but it's a tortoise. That's a good comparison. Aldabra tortoises are so expensive for a couple reasons. One, breeding them's pretty hard. Number 2, they don't reach sexual maturity until 30 to 35 years old. Think, you buy a tortoise, and then you gotta, I'd be approaching my 60s. Before I started breeding this tortoise, if I got one right now. That's probably what's gonna happen at DVCB Exotics. I'm gonna be around, you know, 4 years old where I got some money to spend. I'm gonna buy a pair of Aldabra tortoises and I'll be like, I don't know, in like 70s or 80s, something like that. And I'll be like, I waited 35 years to breed these tortoises. This is my life accomplishment, is tortoises. That's probably what's gonna happen. Now, if you are looking for a cool tortoise that gets very big and lives forever, you can find them for the cool price of around $5,000. The reason they made the top of this list is because actually, ironically enough, Morph Market, I don't know what's going on with Morph Market in 2020, but they're just throwing rare shit out there. I found a pair of Aldabra Tortoises ready to breed. These are some old boys, well, boy and girl, hence breeding pair. They were going for $70,000. That's a lot of money. I didn't screenshot it because I didn't really think I was gonna make this video, and then someone said, hey, make a top 5 expensive reptiles. And I tried to find it and someone already bought them or they took it on the list. Someone might have bought those tortoises for $70,000. I wish I had $70,000. I wish I had $70,000 to spend on tortoises. Maybe in general would be cool too. Alright guys, there you have it, the top 5 most expensive reptiles. But wait, that's not all of them. If you like this video now and you enjoyed it, I might make another one that is the top 5 most expensive reptiles. That'll be the title for sure. That's a great title. If you liked the video, please feel free to give us a thumbs up. If you want to see some more of my animals or my breeding projects, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, DBCB Exotics. We're also on TikTok. Like some cool merch, like, well, not this shirt, but like this shirt right here, that looks pretty rad. My necklace almost hit me in the face. You can find those and some designs like this one, and that one over at teespring.com/DBCBExotics, right down there in the description, where you'll also find Patreon. Yes, patreon.com/DBCBExotics. Where you get to see some cool content like pictures I take of my animals before anyone else gets to see them, new projects and new animals I come in before anyone else gets to see them. You get up-to-date updates on my projects, my breeding projects, first dibs on the animals I produce, and there's even a tier you can get discounts on, again, cool merch like this, or any of the animals I produce. Baby geckos at a discounted price? That sounds like a good deal to me, but wait, how much would this cost? The price of a I was saying Pandora, but I was gonna say Patreon. A Pandora or Spotify subscription? That might be a little steep, my guy. How much are those? I don't know. I don't use Pandora or Spotify. But it's $1 a month. That's a pretty swell deal if I do say so myself. How much are Pandora subscriptions? We'll see you tomorrow.